Yo, what's going on guys, Arax here and welcome back to another For Honor character guide. Apologies for the slightly longer gap since the last one. I was away for a couple of days last week and things have been a little bit hectic, but I'm back now and today we're taking a look at the Valkyrie, a character that a lot of you guys have been asking me to cover. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated and comment down below, let me know what you guys think and also sound out if you are a Valkyrie player. Now, before I dive into the video, it's worth noting Valkyrie, among a few other characters, are going to be getting a few changes. In the case of Valkyrie, those changes include buffs to some of her moves and a reduction in recovery time on some others. And when those changes do drop, there is a good chance this hero is going to become a lot more potent. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that results in more players picking up this hero. However, until then, we'll be taking a look at Valkyrie as she exists now. Valkyrie is a hybrid hero, one of those disabler types. She has a lot of pretty sweet mix-up options, and thanks to her shield and spear combo, she not only has great reach, but also has plenty of very good block and counter options too. She's classified as a hard hero to use, and I actually completely agree with that. She's definitely one of the harder heroes to master, especially in light of those incoming changes. But, much like any hero, once you understand how to use them, there's really not that much to it. So, to begin with, let's talk about her light attacks. They have what is known as superior block. What this means is that during the startup of any of her light attacks, they also have a block property, so you can then use this to counter incoming attacks. Notice how at the beginning of a light attack, the shield flashes orange momentarily. If your light attack direction matches that of an incoming move, you will then counter them. Similar to parry, only a little bit easier. And of course, once you do counter it, you can then follow up with an attack. They're only light attacks, so you of course won't be doing insane damage from the counter alone, but what it does do is then open up the door to begin some of your chains. Valkyrie has three main chain attacks. The first is Boar Hunter. This is three light attacks together, or RB, 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 and if you land all three hits, the final one will also stun the enemy, leaving them vulnerable to whatever you decide to follow up with. Note that the stun doesn't occur if the final hit is a high hit. The second chain is Thrust and Slash. This is two light attacks followed by a heavy attack, so RB, RB, RT. However, it's important to realise that you can also change the last hit into a sweep to knock down your enemy, should you want to. If you pull back and heavy instead, you will then sub in a sweep attack. It does no damage, but it knocks your opponent down, leaving them open for you to follow up. And more importantly, this is not the only place you can sneak a sweep in, but we'll speak more about sweep options very shortly. Your third and final chain is Harrier's Fury. This is heavy followed by two light attacks, so RT, RB, RB. Now after that you have Hunter's Rush. This is your standard sprint opener or chase move. Simply sprint towards your target and press RT or heavy and you'll perform this wide slash. It's got pretty wide reach, so if you're using it to open, then you can actually begin the attack way before your opponent is even in range, and similarly if they're running away, then you can chase them down with it too. Following on from that, you then have Pouncing Thrust, where you dodge forward and input a light attack, so forward and A and then RB. This will see you leap towards your opponent, and again, this has some pretty decent range. Plus, if you land this, you can then go into one of your chains, or even lead into some of your guard break options too. Similarly, you then have Hunter's Strike, exactly the same thing, only dodging left and right instead. Also, while talking about dodging, this is a great opportunity to speak about the dodge counter. With Valkyrie, your guard matches the direction of your dodge, so in other words, if you dodge in the same direction as an incoming attack, it'll block. And if you then follow this with a heavy attack, or RT, you can then go into Shoulder Pin, which applies a bleed to your enemy. So effectively, similar to some of those slightly more nimble or agile characters where you can sort of dodge parry, Valkyrie can do the same, only with the protection of her shield. Following on from that, you then have Shield Crush. This is simply guard break following a heavy attack, so RT and then X. This allows you to push your enemy back following a heavy, and that once again opens up the door for you to go into some of your chains. You then have Shield Tackle, where you pull back and dodge, and you press or hold the guard break button. So back and A and then X. Now if you just press this, you'll then jump back and dash forward and knock your target over. However, if you dodge back and hold, you will then assume this stance. While in this, you then have full block stance. Notice the direction shield is all white. This means that if someone attacks you, you will block without having to match their incoming attack. You can also hold this following the first attack, but it does drain your stamina quite heavily, so try not to rely on this too much. However, if you let go of X at any point during that stance, you will then go into a shield tackle, again giving you a chance to knock your opponent over. Alternatively, you can instead press RB to cancel into a pouncing thrust. Then moving on from there, you then have Ram's Headbutt. If you guard break and you then press or hold again, i.e. X and then X, you will headbutt your enemy. If you do this without holding, you'll simply headbutt them and push them back. If you do it with a hold, your headbutt will then stun. And what's cool is you can then follow this headbutt with another back and heavy or back and RT to perform a spear sweep. Once again, much like I demonstrated earlier, it's an easy way to knock your opponent down and then give you a much needed opening to deal some damage. And what's more, it doesn't end there, you can also sneak a sweep in after a shield crush. So if you input a heavy attack followed by a guard break and then back and heavy, or RTX back and then RT, you will then once again sweep and knock them over. Also, something else to note about shield crush is you can cancel a heavy attack into a shield crush if you press X during the startup animation, which is good for either baiting your opponent or just catching them off guard. And then finally you have your usual zone attack. This is of course performed by pressing RB and RT. Being a spear user, it has very wide reach, and it swings into wide arcs. As always, though, you can cancel the second hit by pressing B should you need to. So, those are Valkyrie's moves, but how exactly do you play her? Well, it goes without saying that your shield and your ability to trip is going to be a core part of your strategy. Some of her attacks are a little slow to set up and easy to read, so you won't typically open your fights in the same way as other heroes. You're much better off waiting for your opponent to attack and attempt to counter that, or just hope they mess up. Either way, reacting to your opponent, especially when you have such strong guard, is considerably easier than trying to go on the offensive. Sure, you can leap in there with Pouncing Thrust or Hunter Strike, but if you get countered, then don't forget you don't have a great deal of health, so you really don't want to get caught off guard. One of your bread and butter cheesy combos is quite simply to follow a spear sweep with a high heavy attack. This will always hit because your opponent will be unable to react on the ground, and then when they get up, you can follow that heavy straight into a shield crush, and you can follow that into another spear sweep. This is a heavy stamina drain, so you won't be able to do it indefinitely, but it is also very easy to get someone caught in this rather nasty trip cycle. Especially if they're not used to fighting against it, then it's quite easy to at least get 3 consecutive trips back to back. If, however, you are caught in this, and you do want to know how to fight against it, the most important thing to do is when you get off the ground just to dash back, because then by the time the Valkyrie has input their sweep, you will then be out of range. So just don't try and attack, because of course the sweep isn't unblockable, so just make sure you dash out of range. That way you should be able to avoid getting caught. That being said, I wouldn't rely on this too heavily anyway, because once people do begin to learn it, it is actually quite easy to avoid, and then similarly you're going to be wasting your stamina. So use it sparingly and try and mix it up where possible. Also, if you're ever pinned in a corner, make sure you make good use of your full block stance on your shield tackle, because it will keep you alive, and again, it gives you plenty of options to then knock your opponent and follow up. So in short, play defensively, react to your enemy, and then use your range to your advantage. Get into the habit of sneaking in trips wherever you can, and you'll then be taking down your opponents in no time. But either way, that's pretty much it. That was a quick look at Valkyrie. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it helpful. And thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.